You guys, I'm guessing if you are listening that you probably have a job, and if you have a job, you're stressed the hell out by it because this is just what life has come to. We have Lolita Guarin on the podcast today. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good, good. So you are a stress management coach.
Yes, and the author and the speaker and anything that can help me to help other people to manage distress.
I love that. So what made you start speaking on stress management? Like how did you get from where you were to now? Like what's your story?
So obviously, I did not wake up one day and said, you know what would be fun to be a stress management coach.
Right?
That's like
That sounds
you don't
stressful.
meet. That's you don't really meet those people a lot. But
Right.
for those who are listening in, they can tell that I have an accent. So I came to US 23 years ago from Lithuania, and I came for my American dream. And I figured if I work hard, I just can, get my money and finally find that tree where money grows on. And I was working so hard and just doing overtime and was afraid to say no to people. And it's just kind of the same stress that most of the burnout people feel in their work environment. It's like you just never enough time to do all. Um, until really it gets to me physically. I was so stressed out and burnout that impacted my hormones. And I ended up in the emergency room and I realized like, okay, I really need to stop doing whatever I'm doing. Obviously, it's really impacting my life.
Right.
And I was like in my 30s, and I'm like, come on, I'm young. I'm not supposed to be breaking apart now, right? You're
Oh,
supposed
you're
to be young.
not?
And well, yeah, that was like a year ago.
Right? I'm 32. I'm like, you're not supposed to be like having mental breakdowns weekly? What?
Yeah, this is such a very high driven society really overall that you constantly see other people succeeding and you constantly telling yourself you need to do more. So when that
Mm-hmm.
impacted my life really, I did not wanted to take just some random pills whatever somebody prescribes and say, oh, just
Right.
chill. And I'm like, there are natural ways how to do it. So the more I discovered those, I applied to myself and I saw they were working, and that's how I became a stress management coach. Except that I felt like there was just a little bit something missing in that,
Right.
because I realized if you have two people in the same room, they will react very differently to the same stressors.
Yep.
So then I started digging deep down and I realized that actually the way I was managing my stress had a lot to do what environment I grew up in. So now
Mm.
I am a stress management coach and expert and author, and talk a lot about also stress that is caused by childhood trauma.
Yeah, I can 100% agree with that. I mean, I didn't have the worst childhood growing up, but it wasn't a Disney fairy tale. And yeah, the way I respond to stress is a lot of deep-seated trauma responses. So that makes so much sense. So much
And
sense.
I get some people in the audience. Let's see who they come and they tell me,
Hmm.
I had an amazing childhood, and I tell we all have childhood trauma. We just some of us have more than others, and when
Hmm.
you think about human experience, it's already very traumatic. What is stress? Stress is outside. What is when you put yourself in the surrounding that is outside of your comfort zone? Any of your getting out of the comfort zone is actually really causing you stress.
Hmm.
So just think about human experience. The birth itself is super stressful. So all of
Yeah,
us have stress and all of us have childhood trauma.
right. No, that makes complete sense. So, what are some things that you do when you're coaching somebody? Like, do you do it for individuals? Do you do it for companies? Like, do you both? Like,
Yes, and they do both and all and much more. So I work also with with clients one on one. Then we
mhm,
really dig in deep and what is that stressing them and how to create new habits. Because coaching is, a lot of people think that coaching is more like a therapist. I think therapist is like an archaeologist. They go and
right.
dig down your past. But I think
Mhm,
coaching is really about like an architect who's actually going to look at what you already have as a base, and then we'll move it forward. So I do one-on-one coaching. I also go to companies and I do lunch and learns where I help them to give lots of get great tips and tricks how to manage stress in the work environment, because we acting very differently when we are with, let's say, with your family members, or when you in a workplace, and or when
Hmm.
you even with yourself. So it really depends on anyone's needs. But I also have a like online school that I teach about stress management. So for those who don't want to have a one-on-one coaching, they can get a lot of value from my online membership as well. And of course, I have books. That's Crush Stress While You Work. And then another one that just came out 6 months ago is Stress Management for Adult Children of Alcoholics.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Yeah, I was gonna ask, tell us about about your books. What got you to write them and all of that
So
good stuff.
when I got coaching clients 10 years ago over, it was mostly of the workplace
Hmm.
stress. I realized that there was really needed to have a book that I just can give them and say, hey, this is like a bunch of tips and techniques that helped me. If that helps you, you can try out. And that's how the first book was born. And
Hmm.
then when I realized that, oh, wait, it really depends a lot how I grew up, how I react to stress,
Hmm.
then the last book was born out of my experience, where it's really 25 chapters. And in every chapter, I addressed one of the things that someone with dysfunctional family can face, like, for example, fear of abandonment or immediate gratification. So then I give examples from my own personal life, from my clients' lives, but also plenty of just worksheets that you can work and do exercises and help yourself. And every chapter I end with your superpower, because they think it doesn't matter what environment you grew up. It's, the first thing that somebody can say, oh, that I'm damaged. And then when that came to my awareness first time, I felt grief of not having a perfect childhood or not
Hmm.
achieving all as much as I could have. Then also came the anger towards my parents. So all of those emotions really can come from deep, and in our society, you're not supposed to be angry, or it's a bad thing to cry or feel grief. So then the second book is really was written for those, someone like me who they thought they were alone and they were afraid to tell other people what they're coming from. So it's just kind of telling them, look, you're not alone, you're not damaged, and you can use what happened to you as a strength and as a superpower to help others.
That's amazing. Now, how do you it's kind of, I guess, a slightly ironic question, but how do you handle the stress of being like a stress, like how easy was it for you to apply all of like the techniques that you teach on? Do you still have days where you're just like, nope, we're just gonna feel the feels today, like we're not gonna try to do the exercises, like I just need to feel the feels today? Like, do you still get like that, or are you very very strict on like walking the walk?
So I think walking the walk is actually walking by yourself, by your own side. And I
Mm,
think that is the problem with a lot of us, is that we really abandon ourselves. And it sounds like, what? Because, well, anywhere you go, you take yourself with you, right? Well, yes and no. Because when you grow up in the environment, that you realize that it was not really safe to express yourself and who you
right.
were, and you were showing only the behaviors that were accepted by your family members,
Hmm.
you abandon yourself in that place, because that's not really truly you. And also, let's say if you grew up in a dysfunctional family, your needs were not truly met as well. So, kind of in a way, your parents or caregivers, they abandon you. So what
Hmm.
happens with somebody who grows up into adult? It's you hear all the time those gurus telling you, you just push it through it, and you don't feel like it, and I don't care. You wake up at 4 o'clock because you need to run outside. You need to do affirmations and meditations, and like, okay, so you tell me to get better by really abandoning yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you don't truly believe that you are worthy of what you're seeking, if you truly believe that you are not loved and not appreciated, that is just makes that problem bigger, because you think, oh my gosh, I know I was not perfect, but now I am even more not perfect. Because God forbid, if I'm gonna wake up at 4:30 in the morning, I already
Yeah.
failed. So you're
Literally.
just making worse. So you see,
Yep.
you just become worse. So what they say is, and how I walk my own walk. So okay, now it's so many people go on new diets and whatever. there are days that I need to work out, and I'm like, okay. And then I feel like, what? I don't feel like working out today. And I'm
Hmm.
going to not abandon myself. I'm not going to abandon my feelings and my needs today. And I'm
Hmm.
probably going to go and get that potato chip, a whole probably bag. I'm going to put the Netflix on. I'm going to plop on the sofa and I'm going to watch 3 episodes in a row of something that makes my heart sing right now, this moment. And I'm just going to enjoy myself. And on top of that, I will not feel guilty.
That's a big one. That's a big one because even eating a bag of chips and watching Netflix is still a form of self care, and people don't realize that. It doesn't have to be the 4:30 a.m. run, which I mean, who the runs at 4:30 in the morning? Like, if you do, great, but also if you do, I'm slightly judging you because no, no. If I'm up at 4:30, it's because I didn't go to bed. But yeah, I mean, that's such a good point because yeah, it's not always green juices and yoga and face masks and stuff. Sometimes like self care is just letting yourself be blah for a day and
Just
not feeling
being
guilty.
with Yes, being with yourself. The number one thing how you can do self-love is allowing yourself to be you. But if you grew up in a dysfunctional family where you are not allowed to even be yourself, you felt unsafe if you even show who you truly are, you will
Mm-hmm.
not allow yourself to be who you are when you grow up. I have clients who I tell them, okay, self-love starts with accepting yourself and doing things that you like to do, for example, and they have no idea what they like to do because they've been conditioned to do things what other people tell them to do. So it
True.
starts really of understanding, am I, like, ask yourself, like, am I doing what I want to do, or am I doing what other people telling me to do? Because when you think stress is really coming from the environment, that's mean you don't like what you're really doing. Like, how they say, let's say work or business, whatever, if you can do it 24/7 without getting paid, that's called passion. And who gets
Mm-hmm.
bored or tired or stressed out with passion? Nobody. Because if you're
Right.
doing something, you immediately feel like so much of energy and you feel energized. So
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, is it really you putting yourself in a situation that you're not enjoying something? And now I can hear somebody's listening to this and they're like, well, I'm so sorry, but I still need to pay my bills. So stress is such a thing that I found that there were two. I know we don't have all time in the world right now, but there are two
Oh, we
things I want
do.
to
We do.
mention.
No, 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 no. This is great. I'm glad you brought that up because I know there's going to be somebody saying that. So please continue.
So it was kind of interesting for me to see there was a research done, and they said the way brain works is always trying to keep us safe. It's all about survival, right? So let's say you were in some stressful situation, and then you just become anxious, and and you just stressing out basically.
Hmm.
But then you survive. You survive and you move on. Your
Hmm.
brain remembers that, and then it says, "Oh, you know what? I remember the last time when we were stressing out, it helped us to survive." So guess what your brain is going to do next time something the same happens? You're gonna
Hmm.
stress out again. So the thing is, when you're in a situation, ask really yourself, am I really stressing myself out? Is this really going to matter like in 5 years? How is this
Hmm.
really impacting my life? Let's say somebody cut off you in traffic, or I don't know, a boss yelled at you something. You just ask yourself, like, how is important this in my life? Do I really need to right now all get so anxious and think that they're gonna fire me? And also that comes from those triggers that come from childhood trauma because your brain was
Absolutely.
conditioned to constantly stress and protect yourself. So questioning that, and every time when you think a negative thought of something, question your own thoughts. It's like, where is this really coming from? Because as Dr. Amen says, not every thought that we think is true. It's just
Hmm.
lots of them are conditioning. So you really ask yourself, what is this is really coming from? The second thing that I want to say is there were plenty of books written about how stress is actually good for you. I know, can you believe that? Um, but but when you think there is, in nature, there's plenty of stress because stress is
Right.
outside coming out of your comfort zone. That grass that was growing through the concrete, it was stressing. I bet it was.
Hmm.
But it's
Yeah.
still surviving, right? So how do they do that? Um, I read this book that was really good, and they did a lot of research-based data. For those who are listening and you're like, well, where's this coming from? It's all about how you look at stress. It's
Hmm.
if you assign a meaning to that, then you change the core belief about that, and then your body will not really physically suffer. I'm sure you heard, and everybody else heard, like, well, if you feel, let's say, anxious about speaking on a stage or something or doing, just tell yourself, I'm excited. I'm excited. Oh, I'm not afraid. I'm excited. This is exciting. And how you condition your own brain to react to something. So, for example, okay, let's say someone right now is sitting at work and they're stressing out about something.
Hmm.
The point of view that you can look at any situation, or even a single mother or whatever sitting at home and just they don't even go to work. They just sit at home and they take care of their kids. And it's stressful. Just ask yourself a question. What is that I'm doing right now that will impact the people around me for the long run? So,
Hmm.
for example, at work, somebody is working on the projects that's taking them for a long time, and like weekends and all of this, and you're like, oh my gosh, I hate this. I'd rather be at home and all this. But then think about, like, kind of zoom out and think about the whole impact, and you can say, you know what, I'm working weekend and I'm stressed out, but this project is gonna, let's say, build a bridge or something. It's going to help a lot of people to get to work and be, you impacting. There's a bigger impact
Yeah.
in the world what you're doing. So, for example, a mother who's stressed out with kids can say, I am stressed out, but all of this energy and time I'm putting in those kids will grow a mature, happy, healthy individuals that will change the world because they making an impact. So when you start assigning yourself a meaning that this, whatever you're doing, is stressing you out, try to, of course, do all other things that helps you to calm down and take care of yourself, number one, right?
Hmm.
Because you need to put your mask on first.
Right.
But then look at whatever you're doing, that there is a bigger meaning to that. And then when you assign the meaning, then your body takes it very differently.
That makes complete sense, especially with assign. I never thought about assigning a reason for it. That I'm gonna start doing that. Like that makes so much sense. I think that'll kind of help me prioritize what I'm actually like flipping out about. So then you may have already gone over this indirectly, because I feel like you kind of have, but I just got to know, what are like three of your favorite um, techniques that you give people? Like what, like even if it's just one, what is like one stress management thing that people can take away from this episode? And you may have already basically said it, especially like 30 seconds ago. But what's one that you're just like, you absolutely need to start working on this now?
So, of course, well, I'll give you two parts.
Okay.
Stress is, and when I start talking with the group, I always introduce myself, and then I say, lift your hand up, and then hold it until I tell you to put it down, and then
Hmm.
I keep talking. And of course, after a few minutes, people kind of start looking at each other like, "Come on, I mean, my hand is hurting. Can I put it down now?"
Right.
That is stress, right? Your body is stressed. So that's how it is with your mental stress as well.
Mm.
If you will continue doing something for the whole day without giving yourself a break, you're going to be stressed out and burn out at the end of it.
Right.
So, what does that mean by that? You have to make time for yourself to take breaks. Even 1 minute helps your brain to relax. So, we all have phones these days. Put an alarm on, and let's say you're just somewhere that you, and again, this is disclaimer, don't do this while you're driving or operating heavy machinery. Just whatever you're doing, just stop. Like, let's say your alarm rings and you just stop and you close your eyes and just breathe in, breathe out, and just be with yourself the moment. Trying not to think about the project for 1 minute. Just do one
Hmm.
minute. And when you start giving yourself smaller breaks, and just because you already giving yourself a break, that is self care. That is honoring your own needs. That
Yeah.
is telling your brain and yourself, like, look, I am taking care of you. I love you. And I'm going to take that minute. And I have clients who tell me, no, I don't have time for this. And I'm like, come on, seriously? You can find a minute. Just relax for 1 minute. So that is one thing that you can manage your stress over the day, right? And there's
Right.
many other things you can do. But the second part that I want to say, it's very important. How do you manage stress when something happens right away that is outside of your control, right? Because the first part of what I said is you can control this. But what is the second part is like something happens to you. especially those who come with the childhood trauma, that can look like very life threatening. So it
Hmm.
already can start with overreaction.
Yep.
And everything starts with overreacting and trying to protect yourself. And as I mentioned before, the thought's not necessarily true what you're thinking, but they're trying to help you. They're serving you. So I say you can do this routine that I tell all my clients. Whatever something happens, it's very important to stop what you're doing or what you're thinking and
Hmm.
help your thoughts, first of all, to stop kind of moving like it's like a train, you know. It's moving
Right.
very slowly at the beginning, but the more you think about something, it just gets off the cliff.
Right.
So as soon as you start thinking something negative or you immediately stressing out, just repeat some affirmation or something positive or something that keep your mind away, or read something that you just repeat yourself. Or, you know, I'm calm, I'm collected, everything is good, I'm okay. And just keep repeating until that first initial wave kind of dies out of you trying to jump into conclusions and jump into the, you know, run and hide and all this thing. Also, it's very important at the same time to touch your body. And you know, those who roll their eyes right now and thinking, what are you talking about? So when you see like younger kids who like they feel uncomfortable, I'm sorry. I'm just laughing. I can hear you. That's your
Yeah, I
dog.
like I turned the like monitor down to see if like you couldn't, yeah, hear her temper tantrum over here, but apparently um we can. Ma'am, I'm gonna need you to chill. This is my life. But anyways, continue. You were making a great point.
Or laugh. That's another good thing. If you feel all stressed out, you just watch some funny video on Instagram and then you can start laughing and interrupt your train of thought. So the
Literally.
touching, usually, as the touching is very important because your brain feels comforted. So as you
Hmm.
can see, like kids usually run for the hug, and you know we crave the physical touch. It's already been lots of research has done that physical touch is very important. So
Hmm.
what is that you do? You can massage your fingers. You know, you just rub your neck or something. You know, if you in the public and let's say you are sitting in a meeting and you are about to give a presentation or something and you get anxious, you
Hmm.
just, you know, you just sit and you just can massage your fingers underneath the table. Nobody even needs to know what you're doing, right? And you
Hmm.
just, and then also you breathe in, breathe out, and deep breathing and slow breathing. Because when you slow down your breathing, the kind of your brain registers like, oh, I'm not running. Because when you're running and you're stressed out, your heartbeat increases and then you
Hmm.
breathe faster. So when you manually lower the interval, it's just deeper breathing and slower, you kind of tell your brain, I'm not running, I'm okay, I'm not stressing. So that initial like of thinking, of touching your body, and then breathing in and out, you just hold her for like at least 5 minutes or whatever that is until
Hmm.
that initial stress and anxiety comes through, and then you can make a decision what do you really need to do about that. And that's one of the tools that I always teach my clients.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like a little bit of like a mini like quick grounding type of thing to just like get back literally, no pun intended, in touch with yourself. So that, yeah, I'm so glad you came on. This has been super helpful. I'm actually going to be replaying this back and applying some things myself. But where can people find you? Like website, where can they find your books, all of that?
So the books are of course on Amazon, and
Hmm.
every possible connection how you can reach me, or look at my online program or my memberships that I teach, or register for my one-on-one session with me and the coaching. It's just to go to beamazingyou.com.
Perfect. Yep. And again, guys, we will have all of that linked down in the description below so that you can easily find it. But Lolita, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. And you know what I just thought about that?
Yeah.
For those who are listening in and they need some help with, we touch more about the workplace stress, I'll
Hmm.
give away for free my book, Crush Stress While You Work. How about that? So those who are listening in, they can
Yeah.
go to the description and just click on the link below um, and get the book.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, little hot mess espresso exclusive. But yeah, thank you so freaking much for hopping on. This has been so enlightening and so much fun.
Thank you for inviting.
Yeah.